I'm going to be here for a while. You can sit down, relax. We got plenty of time together. It's all okay. Speaking of Celergize Morning, you probably have been asking yourself some questions about when is the best time of the day to take it? How do I combine it with patches? How do I take all of that information that was presented yesterday and combine this into a daily program or schedule so I have a system that I can use for producing predictable results? So that's what we're going to be talking about now, is about designing a schedule. So the first thing, as you hear me say very often on our LifeWave Connect, is that I am not a medical doctor. I am not providing medical advice. We are not making any type of medical claims. So if we're all okay and good with that, what I would recommend that you do, if you find something here that is of interest, take this to a practitioner so you can customize this and design it into a program that will suit your particular needs, since everyone is going to be different. So some of the objectives that we have in this daily program is, first, we want to spend the minimum amount of time to produce the best results. Everyone's time is very valuable. We're valuable with time that we need to spend with our families, at our business, so we may not have a lot of extra time to put into a health program. So we want to look at strategies so we're not in a gym 2 hours a day, for example. You're welcome. Make sure that you have your foundation in place. So if you don't have a healthy diet, if you're not exercising, if you're not hydrating, don't expect to get the best outcome or the best results. This is a holistic program, and we need to think about this in its entirety. So getting your healthy nutrition, and that can mean a variety of different things, which we'll discuss. Having a daily program of exercise, even if it's something at a minimum, making sure you're managing stress, getting proper sleep, drinking enough water during the day, not using stimulants to the point where it's degrading your body, supplementing to fill in the gaps, and of course using technology like the patches to take things to another level. Now, the program that we're going to look at is a sample only. So for example, if one of your outcomes that you desire is to be a professional or Olympic athlete or be a bodybuilder, this is not going to be the program for you. This is a program that is designed for health and longevity. So keep that in mind. Also, if you have a specific medical condition, this might not be the program for you. So there are countless ways of changing this sample. This is just to give you an idea of a direction that you can go in, but there's many different variations. So you may come across a technology like an infrared sauna, and you say, well, I want to use infrared sauna once or twice a week for detoxification. You can obviously build that in to an overall program. And speaking of that, I haven't attempted to include any number of other therapies that you might want to try. So, for example, one of the technologies and therapies you hear me talk about regularly is ozone therapy. Getting IV ozone therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, as a means to supporting an overall program of treating a variety of different diseases. We haven't included any of those things. Okay, so first thing is you want to start off your day with the correct mindset. And part of that is meditation or prayer. Now, there are clinical studies that show, and I have one here as an example, that prayer is shown to not only improve your mood, but also reduce stress. So, When I wake up in the morning and I wake up next to my beautiful wife, the first thing that I do is tell her how grateful I am that I have the opportunity to wake up next to her each morning. So what I have found as a husband, if you start off the day by thanking your wife and being grateful for her, the rest of the day tends to go pretty well. So husbands, take notice. And I think the same is true with God. If we pray and give thanks to the Lord, who has blessed us with so many incredible things in our lives, if we start off the day with prayer, it's an awesome thing. So I would encourage you to do that. Okay, now, many times of the day that you could exercise, I usually wake up at 5:30, 6 a.m., and then I head straight to the gym. And I have a gym in my home, so it's relatively easy. I wake up, I take a few minutes to prepare, get my clothes out, set the day, and then I head to the gym. And given how hectic and long my days are, being able to go to the gym is therapeutic. So I encourage you to set aside that time in the morning to exercise, and that can be a quiet space. Now, there's a few different options here which are pretty interesting. Many people use coffee as a pre-workout. They use a variety of different pre-workout formulas. Could be branched-chain amino acids, could be nitric oxide. Many of you may want to try to use X2O along with an amino acid formula as a pre-workout. There's a lot of options here. I want to talk to you about a variety of different options. First, with caffeine. This is a really interesting one. First of all, there is no question that caffeine will improve exercise performance. As a matter of fact, for the Olympics, if people consume too much caffeine and they get blood tested, they can be banned from competing. So no question, caffeine improves exercise performance. The problem is that it induces a lot of oxidative stress on the body. So you have to use it with caution. Now, there's an interesting way to use caffeine, and that is if you have it before exercise, not only will it improve exercise performance, but it will assist in the damage that occurs to muscle tissue, so that when you go into a state of rest, that you can build more muscle. But the key here is not to have the caffeine post-exercise. If you use Celergize as a pre-workout, that contains citrulline and potassium, and both of those will fuel the production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, likewise, will increase exercise performance and is suitable for pre-workout. Those among you that have injuries that have been difficult to heal, or let's say that you have a loss of cartilage, there are now new studies that show if you take amino acids before exercise, and this is now I'm referring to resistance training, it will drive those amino acids into the muscle tissue and you'll get better muscle protein synthesis. So having that window of time, and if you also add, if you're looking to generate new cartilage, getting a collagen supplement and vitamin C, which triggers collagen, which triggers cartilage production and collagen production, will assist in repair of damaged tissue in the body. So nutrient timing is extremely important. And here's a study that will reference that. Okay. Now, when you get to your resistance training or your cardio, you have a number of interesting options here. And you don't have to be in the gym 6 days a week to get the best results. What's interesting is that Steve and Gina love that idea. And you know what's extraordinary about that is Steve is a world champion athlete. And Steve loves to train and be in the gym. So, but I know you appreciate time and efficiency. So you don't have to be in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. As a matter of fact, if you speak with exercise scientists, you speak with professional bodybuilders, which we've worked with a lot of Olympic professional athletes, bodybuilders over the years. And interestingly enough, many of them say that the biggest breakthrough in bodybuilding was when people went to only exercising one muscle 1 day per week. And there's a variety of ways of doing that. And that's because if you're applying a lot of pressure to the muscle, you're also creating damage to the tendon. So your muscles will recover within a period of about 2 or 3 days, but your tendons need more time to recover, 5 to 7 days. So if you're doing the work, you can actually recover. You only have to exercise a specific muscle group once per week, if the resistance is there. So these are very, very powerful tools. So a potential strategy that you can employ is to do your resistance training twice a week. So you break down the muscle groups into pushing and pulling groups, for example. And you do your resistance training twice a week and your cardio twice a week. So lest you think that this isn't going to do anything, let's look at an interesting approach here. Now, this would be a technique, a strategy that you could use if you hadn't exercised in a very long period of time. Time does not permit us to have a discussion on how to incorporate various strategies of volume into exercise, meaning multiple sets, multiple repetitions, what is the right range. All depends on the outcome. Again, if you're looking just to be in shape, that's one type of exercise. If you're looking to go to the extreme and be a professional athlete or bodybuilder, totally different strategy. So let's say you're an average American who doesn't really like to exercise, doesn't get into the gym. This is not Renita Brannon. We're going to take someone that maybe doesn't like to exercise and wants to put in the minimum amount of time. Maybe you haven't been in the gym or trained for 10 years. There's a technique called static contraction training, and it allows you to exercise 1 day a week for about 5 minutes, 10 if you consider a warm-up, and get fantastic results starting off. There's only 5 exercises, and you work out 10 seconds per exercise to start. I have this equipment in my home because we're doing a clinical study on it. So your entire workout is 50 seconds. You sit on the equipment, you do something like a bench press, apply 10 seconds of maximum pressure in your strongest range. Then you get off, you reset the machine, and you go to the next exercise. 50 seconds total, once per week. And these are the type of results that people get. We're doing a study on this with X39 to see how far we can really push this. I'll give you an example for myself, and again, keep in mind, I'm 62. Just this past month, on this machine at maximum contraction, I bench pressed 331 pounds, and about 3 weeks ago, I had a maximum belted squat of 480 pounds. So when you can put this amount of pressure on your muscle, very short period of time can induce a stimulus. Now, I'm also doing other exercise. As I did this for a few months, got incredible results, and then started to add additional exercise and volume to take it up even more. Now, we are also working with a scientist at a university that discovered this revolutionary method of performing cardiovascular exercise, cardio, where you have a 3-minute warm-up, you sprint as fast as you can for 20 seconds, then you go through another period of rest, and then you sprint again for 20 seconds. 40 seconds of exercise twice per week. Now, this piece of equipment is called a Carol bike. This is called a rehit method. And you can do this on a treadmill. So if you do this on a treadmill, what you do is you walk very slowly for a period of 3 minutes. Then you set the treadmill at the steepest incline possible. You set it at the fastest setting that you can run. And again, if you're just starting off, I recommend that you go slowly, work with your doctor so you don't get injured, but you sprint as fast as you can on that incline for 20 seconds, rest for 3 minutes, and then repeat. You can also obviously do this on an exercise bike. The advantage of this specific bike is that everything is automated and it keeps track of your result. But incredibly, this method of training, 8 weeks of it, shows that your cardiovascular health improves, and that 80 seconds of exercise is equivalent to 90 minutes of steady state cardio. So this is an incredibly efficient way of training. I've been doing this now, and the change is absolutely remarkable. I love it. So that's all you do. Okay. Now, an example of how you might structure this is Mondays, you do your resistance training. Tuesdays, you can do your cardio, all 10 minutes of it, or 40 seconds, depending on how you look at it. Take a day off, do your resistance training again, and then another cardio session. That's just an example. Okay. Now you can do your post-workout. So if you're fasting, then you would just have X2O and Celergize as an example, or you could use branched-chain amino acids, but you want to keep the calories to around 30 calories or so if you're going into a fasted state and you're not going to eat until, let's say, 11 a.m. But you should at least hydrate, take your electrolytes after training, and these are some options. Okay, so for patches, we have a number of options about what you might use in the morning. A very good protocol today is X39 on the back of the neck, X49 below the belly button. You can use a third patch if you wished, and then a set of energy and patches if you wish to use that as well. But a basic system of X39, X49 works great. If you're suffering in pain, you would obviously want to use IceWave. If you're going for appetite control, SP6, glutathione, carnosine. Glutathione if you're looking for detoxification, carnosine for additional athletic performance. So you tune these and use these all depending on what outcome it is that you're looking for. But again, the basics work very well. Okay, and then you head to work, presumably, let's say, at 8 a.m., and you get started. Interestingly, Richard Branson has attributed exercising in the morning as one of his keys to success at working long hours and getting a lot of things done. Now, if you have coffee post-exercise, I'd recommend decaf, and especially if you are in a fasted state, decaf coffee is an excellent tool for blunting hunger. So you can think about it that way, black coffee. But again, I don't recommend using a lot of caffeine. And again, caffeine post-exercise, there's some literature that shows that it may interfere with anabolic metabolism. You could say that the jury is out with this. So I'll let you decide. But in any case, too much caffeine is going to impair your objective of longevity. So let's say that you're going to have your first meal at 11 a.m. You want to start with a good way to structure a meal is to first look at the amount of protein that you need, and we want to have enough protein to support not only muscle protein synthesis, but support of hormones and also tissue repair. So an example is about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight as a general target. Could be a little bit less or more than that. And then also some healthy fats. Good examples of healthy fat would be extra virgin olive oil, as we discussed yesterday. So how do we calculate all of this? If we were to look at a woman, let's say, that weighed about 120 pounds, that would be 120 grams per day of protein. And depending on whether or not you're a man or a woman would depend upon how many meals per day that you would break that across. Keep in mind, there is a relationship between levels of growth hormone and levels of insulin. So there may be some of you here today that are interested in burning fat, right? Okay, just testing, make sure you guys are awake. I know I'm going very quickly because we have a short period of time. So consider this. When we're eating, we're triggering release of insulin. And the purpose of insulin is to store calories as fat. When we're in a fasted state, when we're not eating, that's when we're going to trigger our body's levels of growth hormone. And what does growth hormone do? It triggers the metabolism of fat for conversion over into energy. So the longer that we're in a fasted state, the longer that we increase our growth hormone and are burning fat for fuel, the more often that we eat, the more often that we're staying in a state where we're triggering insulin and storing calories as fat, and we're not metabolizing fat for energy. So there is some logic here. If you speak with athletes, well, they'll say, well, eating twice per day and getting your daily protein and healthy fats into those 2 meals is better than spreading your meals across 4, 5, 6 times per day because of that very phenomena. So that's something to consider. So we could start out with your body weight. That's going to determine the amount of protein that you get. And then from there, you can calculate as a starting point about 1/3 of your calories from healthy fats. Again, I really stress the importance of having extra virgin olive oil. Now, the balance of this is going to be in carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are completely unnecessary. You don't need carbohydrates as for survival. Your body can be completely driven off of proteins and fats. So with that extra 1/3 of calories, you can shift that between additional fat, additional protein, but it doesn't have to come from carbohydrates, and in fact, it's probably desirable that it doesn't come from carbohydrates. It also could mean that you could take the amount of carbohydrates down to about 10% or so and still get all the advantages of a low carbohydrate diet without having to go into ketosis, for example. Okay, let's keep this moving along. And we covered this a little bit yesterday about extra virgin olive oil, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that now, but there's too many reasons to list as to why you should be consuming this each day. And maybe someday, I don't know, I'm not making any promises, maybe there will be a light infused olive oil. We'll see. But keep in mind, many people resort to using drugs like Ozempic for weight loss, and you have to balance this out between the negatives of being overweight. But keep in mind that olive oil is effective at triggering GLP-1, so you can actually get the benefits of something that activates GLP-1 without having to go to Ozempic. Now, in terms of overall life extension, when we're looking at nutrients to supplement with, one thing that's interesting is plain old vitamin B3, niacin. Niacin, of course, has many different forms. You could be taking a regular niacin, niacinamide, the inositol-based form of niacin. But the important thing is that this will contribute to formation of NAD, and NAD, of course, resets two of the sirtuin genes to a more healthy state. You could spread out your meals over 3 times, taking a healthy snack in the afternoon, and then dinner. Again, I'd strongly encourage eating early so it doesn't interfere with the quality of your sleep, and having that be focused on protein and healthy fats. About 8 p.m., you would remove your daytime patches, and this would be a time around 9 p.m. or so to have your Celergize PM. And we discussed the formula yesterday, so we won't get into that now. You can apply the evening patches now, and you have a variety of different options. So obvious choices would be Silent Nights, Aeon, Alavida. Aeon is an excellent choice because it reduces stress on the nervous system. If you have any inflammation in the body, Aeon helps to manage that inflammation. On a long speaking day like this, I'll put the Aeon patch on my throat in the evening, so this morning I'm all fresh and ready to go, and lots of opportunities for different patch placements. Glutathione I would not recommend as an evening patch because it causes detoxification and you may end up with a headache in the morning. So just be aware of that. If you're going to use glutathione at night, make sure that you're properly hydrated. Carnosine, because carnosine is stored in the brain, some of you that use the carnosine patch in the evening, you may find that you're mentally alert the whole night, or it gives you very intense dreams. Some of you may want those intense dreams. That's up to you. So that's something to consider. And then let's say that you were going to get to sleep about 11 o'clock or so. Make sure that you're taking the time to think about the environment that you're creating for your sleep. So make sure that you're not getting any excessive light into the room. Don't use cell phones, tablets about an hour or so before going to sleep. There's been some studies that have shown if you keep your feet warm, it improves circulation and improves the quality of sleep. So there's a number of these different biohacks that you can do to improve the quality of your sleep. Then just 2 interesting notes on some research that we're doing on what we've learned from lobsters. Interestingly enough, lobsters have a diet that's very rich in clams, and clams is the highest food source of vitamin B12. And why is that important? It's because B12, methylcobalamin, is a methylation factor and is responsible for controlling gene expression. So we're looking at using B12 in a new and novel way to reset genes to a more youthful state. And we're learning this from lobsters. And then astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is also found in lobsters, and interestingly enough, I don't have time to get into it today, but the clinical studies on astaxanthin show that it's responsible for repairing and protecting DNA. And what we found through our studies is that if you take the numerical data in the story of the tree of life, it points to the exact wavelengths that are found in astaxanthin that are responsible for repairing DNA. So in other words, the tree of life predicts what happens in lobsters with astaxanthin that prevents the lobsters from aging. I think I said that right. Okay, so that's a very interesting supplement. Okay, so that's a lot of information. Sorry to hit you with it so quickly, but we do need to keep some things moving along. Thank you. Okay, so right now I would like to welcome back to the stage our president. Now, I'm going to tell you that since I did this for the majority of our history, be the operational president of the company, It is a tremendous amount of work, a tremendous commitment. There are long hours, there's a lot of travel, a lot of responsibility, and we are very blessed to have someone as amazing as Meredith in this role, doing this job. Not only that, but when Meredith and I speak about LifeWave and the future and the vision as to where we're going, she shares the same vision that I have. And what she never talks about the money the company is earning or any of that. What she always says is, this company is here, it's such a blessing, we're gonna help so many people. So that's the type of person we have as president. So please welcome Meredith Burkich.
I am so honored to join David in presenting this incredible award, the LifeWave